Now, I know to many, Menace to Society is considered a classic, or a hood classic if you will, and I mean it should be. It's an entertaining movie with compelling characters and a dope soundtrack, but above all, it's an important film, especially to the black community, as it does depict things a lot of us can relate to. Now, I'm not mad at those of you who enjoy this purely just for the hood element, but why I think this film is important is a little more deep and heartbreaking than you may believe. Menace to Society follows a group of men, specifically black men, around as they navigate through life in the hood. And while it is easy to make assumptions, what we see on the surface does no justice to how deep these characters actually are. They aren't just black men being depicted as violent for no reason and or bored with no options. One could argue they're black men scarred by the society they were born into. I believe one of the things Menace to Society does well is touch on how being affected by poverty and violence can directly affect you in adulthood. A lack of positive material conditions, mainly education, are directly linked to one's mental health. Now, you may be saying Boys in the Hood or South Central and other movies like this speak on these issues as well. And while those films are great, I think the way Menace to Society shows us is the most effective. We rarely ask ourselves what would commit someone to continuously make bad decisions. And while it's easy to write people off as bad seeds, the issue is more complex than this. Mental health plagues many communities, but it often goes unnoticed or unchecked in the black community. I think there's this idea that talking about our feelings may be considered feminine or soft, as some would say. And as a black man myself, I can honestly say I'm a victim of this to a degree. Although in this film there is without a doubt an aspect of toxic masculinity, but the film also shows the impact of this mentally. We see this mental impact through most of the male characters in the film, but it's through the character of O-Dog we see it at its purest form. I want you to watch this clip from the film's opening scene and think about what happens.
I'm on my faded. You don't hear me though. Hey, that bitch got body. Yeah, she got body, man. Shit, boy, I'm about to get with her though. I heard that. Let me see what's up in this motherfucker. And you ain't gotta be creeping. I don't know why you trying to act like you cleaning up. Damn, I always think we gonna steal something.
You know what you want, dog?
Yeah. I'm finna fuck with some of this eyes. Oh, nah, boy. Oh, man, I'm from the old school, brother. Yeah.
You not to drink beer in store.
Hey, man, I'ma pay you. Hey, look, bitch, stop following me around this motherfucker. You getting on my nerves.
You hurry up and buy.
Shut the fuck up, man.
Yes, pay and leave.
Hey, man, I said I'ma pay you. Won't you calm your motherfucking nerves? Damn.
Hurry up and go.
Hey, man, won't you go ahead and get me, bro? I got your back. Hey, won't you give my homeboy a chance?
I don't want any trouble. Just get out.
Can't stand y'all.
I feel sorry for your mother.
What you say about my mama? You feel sorry for who?
I don't want any trouble. Just get out.
The fuck you say about my mama?
I don't want any trouble. Just get out.
You talking shit. Every time I come in this motherfucker, you got something to say.
Yeah.
Hey, where the motherfucking videotape? Give me the motherfucking video.
So it's pretty glaring O-Dog suffers from mental health issues. We're never explicitly given his backstory, but right from the opening, we can tell that this is an unstable man who has no regard for the lives of others or maybe even his own life. If I were to guess, I'd say he was a victim of some form of childhood trauma or neglect. Now, if you are black or anyone who's ever been discriminated against on a racial angle, you may look at this from a slightly different angle and notice there is something else at play here. I think the director cleverly places Kane and O-Dog in the frame first, so we, the audience, see them. Some viewers may even judge them based off of their language or clothing alone, and this is exactly what the store owners do. They are scared and judgmental even before these two men speak a word to them. The store owners are clearly a metaphor for how some people in society view young black men. They're given up on before we even get a chance to know them, and in a sense, their being doesn't matter. This isn't by any means justifying what O-Dog does here. After all, he does murder two otherwise innocent people. But it is important to note that these people meant nothing to O-Dog. Why would he care about their life when he's been taught or has seen that his own life doesn't even matter? I also think it's important to note why O-Dog actually kills them. The store owner says something about his mother, and for a street dude, that's an obvious problem. Toxic masculinity and male fragility and cognitive impairment are all at play here. He couldn't let this man embarrass him, so he had to upstage him, if you will. But due to his inability to think clearly, this led to senseless murder, when he could have just cussed the man out or simply just left. O-Dog is portrayed throughout the rest of the film as this loose cannon, a villain if you will, and he kind of is for the most part. But me personally, I see a kid who was failed by society, left without guidance, and has never been able to deal with the trauma that may come with growing up in his environment. He's someone who's learned to get by purely off of his instincts alone, simply because that's just all that's worked for him this far. He's later seen gloating about the murders he's committed, but there is this look in his eyes during this that may slightly resemble regret, like he knows the choice he made was wrong. And as we will see, this is another prominent theme within the film. Similar to O-Dog, the main protagonist of the story, Kane, obviously has suffered emotionally as well. Trauma doesn't always have to be physical, as it can be emotional or influential. During one of Kane's monologues, we get insight into how his childhood trauma leads to him going down a path that's destined to fail. In this clip, we will begin to see the cycle his family has become a part of.
My father sold dope, and my mother was a heroin addict. Moms and pops were real popular in the neighborhood. They would always be having parties for friends of theirs who just got out of jail or who was on their way to jail. They only got married because I was born. My pop sometimes worked as an electrician or a cab driver or a plumber, but his main job was selling drugs. Sometimes mom would use them all up before he could even sell them. Then he'd have to beat her up. Growing up with parents like that, I heard a lot and I saw a lot.
He speaks candidly about his parents and their influence on him, and it's quite saddening. We, the audience, could simply look at this two ways. One, his parents are irresponsible and set the foundation for their son's future and eventual fate. Or they were also victims of unfortunate circumstances, as were their parents before them, and so on. Both of these could, without a doubt, be true at the same time, but I think the film is asking us to at least think about why this is. Why does the struggle last generation after generation in black communities? Not to get too political, but when society plants you on an uneven playing field, you have to find ways for you and your family to survive, and you may not always have the means or mental clarity to realize the severity or consequences of these actions, with the biggest consequences being prison or violence, and in some cases even death. In Menace to Society, we see all three just from our main character alone, as we see him in prison, committing or being the victim of violent acts and an untimely death as well. The film is all about contrast, and we get plenty of it because while Kane shows us how the cycle affected him, we see how others deal with it as well. You have O-Dog, who essentially doesn't think about his actions and subsequently falls into a similar cycle. And then you have characters like Ronnie or Stacy and Sharif, who are actively aware of the fact they need to leave their current situation, as it may be their only way to avoid falling into this cycle. Mental health and forms of trauma can make breaking the cycle difficult, but this leads us to maybe the biggest theme of the film. The movie doesn't try to paint any of the characters as good or bad. I believe the Hughes brothers intended to have these characters feel lost and conflicted. In Kane's case, you know there is a good man in there somewhere, but because of the trauma that corresponds with growing up in the hood, it's clouded his ability to make sound judgments. He doesn't know who he is or what he wants to be. All he knows is the streets, and it's left him repeating the cycle that his parents, friends, and others in similar situations have all undergone. There are many moments in the film that echo this and in a sense seal Kane's fate. The first I'll point out is the conversation with Mr. Butler, who agrees Kane should leave the city.
How's work?
Well, you know, white man always on your back. But what else is new, huh? Have a seat.
What's up, man? Chilling.
So what y'all talking about?
Not much, just chatting.
Yeah, we talking about this Kansas trip.
Kansas. So what about Kansas?
So what are you gonna do, KD? You gonna fuck around out there in the streets till you get killed? Like your cousin, maybe?
What's that, sir?
Well, Sharif tells me him and Stacy have been trying to get you to leave with him.
Yeah, but I don't know about no Kansas.
Kane seems lost and ultimately unmotivated to move to Kansas with his friends, despite being warned multiple times by multiple people that his actions and lifestyle will catch up to him eventually. The second comes from the conversation with his grandfather, when he asks Kane if he cares about living or dying.
Kane, do you care whether you live or die?
I don't know.
Come on, man, let's bail. Come on.
I think the conversation with the grandfather is probably the most important part of the film, at least to me it is. Not just because it foreshadows the events, but because it's the main question the film is attempting to ask. What choice do you want to make? One that breaks the cycle or one that keeps you trapped in it? As a black man, it's an extremely moving moment because it shows Kane, like many of us in real life, don't know our real worth. The entire movie is heartbreaking because Kane is given so many choices and chances to escape, and he fails to take advantage of all of them. And this leads us to the ending, what has been foreshadowed all along, and that's that by the time we do realize our worth and finally agree to make the right choice, it may be too late, as we've given our past actions too much time to catch up to us.
Yo, what's up now, partner?
In closing, I think Menace to Society is more than a great hood film. I believe it's a great film in general. Out of all the hood movies, I think this is the one that really sticks with you, simply because of the questions that it asks. It never feels like it's taking an aim at the black community. Instead, it's the exact opposite. I believe the Hughes brothers wanted to tell a story that opened the eyes to the cycles in hopes that we can recognize the many signs before it's too late. It never glorifies the street life. Instead, it gives a genuinely honest and heartbreaking portrayal of what life might be like for some of us. It's a depiction that hits close to home for me, and I'd like to imagine if you're watching this, you probably feel the same way. And I feel completely comfortable saying that if you're beginning to recognize signs or start feeling a certain way and need to talk about things, do it. There are anonymous hotlines and resources that may help and, in some cases, even save lives. All of which I'll post in the description below for those who are interested. Anyways, this is all just my interpretation on the film and how I felt after watching it again as an adult. Even if you disagree with my thoughts or dislike the content within the film, I still think it's a really well shot and directed movie. The performances, of course, are also spot on. But in my opinion, Menace to Society is a good movie with a great message, and it gets an 8.7 out of 10 from me. So let me know what you guys think. What's your favorite hood movie, or movies in general that you'd like to hear me analyze? Let me know in the comments below, as I'd love to hear from you. I'd also really appreciate if you guys smash that subscribe button. That helps get the channel going, and it leaves room for me to create more videos just like this one. Anyways, you all be safe out there, take care of your loved ones, and I'll catch you soon.